Y'all already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. What happens when you let your pride get in the way? We all know what pride can lead to. I've met some guys that got so much time, they might as well have a life sentence, or they do have life sentences. Today I'm going to tell you some stories on pride. So that the next time you get all in your feelings, or you think that you've been disrespected and you got to set something straight, maybe you'll think back to this video. Y'all know I done seen it. You know I done lived through it. Let's relive it. Now, there's nothing wrong with being proud. Being proud of your accomplishments. Being proud of things you have. Being proud of your kids. Being proud of your girl. Being proud of yourself. But there's a difference between being proud and your pride. There will come times in life where your pride is going to get in the way of your clear thinking. Your pride is going to cause you to do things that are out of character. And that's what today's video is based on. Got a homeboy named Curly I met in the hole that'll never come home behind his pride. Let's get into Curly's story. I meet Curly in the hole. At the time, we could still smoke in prison. You could still buy it on canteen. But when you went to the hole, you couldn't smoke. You couldn't order canteen. You just sat back there hungry with nothing. You might have some toothpaste, some shampoo in your cell, some writing materials and stamps, but that's about it. There was no food items, no tobacco. I get a tray that shows up one day to my cell, and this has happened a couple different times. I got a couple different stories on me receiving stuff that didn't belong to me. And the tray has got a plastic lid on it. It's my dinner for the night. And everybody else gets one in the hole. They come to your door, they open a slot, they slide it in. I pop the tray lid off, and, you know, there's the bread and stuff. And I go start sorting my food out. There's a little bit of food that's on this tray. And when I lift up this bread, there's a pouch of tobacco, a lighter, rolling papers, and a note to a dude named Curly. So I don't say nothing. I'm like, oh shit, I just struck. I just grabbed, somebody just gave me the wrong tray, right? I done intercepted somebody's tray. So I start reading, I read the letter to try to figure out who this belongs to. And it belongs to Curly. His people, pretty much say, hey, hold your head while you back there. Got this over to the dude that works in the hole to make sure it gets to you. We'll see you when you get out the hole. Stay up, man, you know what I mean? Curly slept in the cell right directly beside me. So I debate on what to do. Should I be a sleazeball, keep it? Should I be grimy? Or should I do the right thing and get this dude what's his? I plowed on it for a little bit. I want to smoke a cigarette so bad. And I'm like, man, if I light the cigarette, everybody's going to smell it because there's no tobacco back there. There's no way to mask the smell of a cigarette being burned down this long hallway with cells on both sides. So I bang on the wall and I'm like, yo, homeboy. And he was like, what's up, man? I see you Curly, right? And he was like, yeah. I said, all right, come to the door. So he goes to the door. And we're like, when you go to the door, you can put your face up against the door and there's a crack. And you can see in, through the crack. And I can see his eye and he can see my eyes. I'm pressed up against the door. And I whispered to him, hey, I got a tray tonight and I'm pretty sure it belongs to you. He's like, word? Why you say that? I said, look, man, a tray showed up over here with some tobacco on it and a letter to a dude named Curly. You Curly? He was like, yeah, I'm Curly. I said, all right. So we do what's called fishing. We rip our bed sheets up, tie them together. You might put a bar of soap on it, and there's a gap underneath the door, and you can take this thing and sling it all the way down the hallway with this string attached to it, like this rope. Somebody else throws theirs out. The two tangle up. Now, whatever he's got on his end, he can tie it to it, and I can pull it back to me, or vice versa. Well, Curly's right next to me. So I tell him, send me your line out. So he throws his line in the door. I throw mine, sling it out, wrap around his. I pull his back in. I put the pouch of tobacco on it, the lighter, the rolling papers. I tell him, go ahead, pull it. So he pulls it into his cell, right? He's like, good looking, bro, good looking. Now I'm like, man, I should have just kept this shit, man. I need a cigarette bag. A couple minutes later, he bangs on the door. He's like, hey, come to the door, man. Send your line out. So I fish my line back underneath the door. He fishes his out. He sends me half of it. Told me, hey, if you need to use a lighter or whatever, just bang on the wall. I'll send you the lighter. I said, all right, good looking. He didn't have to do that. But like we know, real recognizes real. He appreciated the fact that I was honest. Had I not done that, he wouldn't have gotten none of it. He would have known I had it, so we eventually ran into problems. But instead of being grimy, I did what was right. So now I'm in the hole and I'm smoking good. Me and Curly spark up conversations. We'd sit at the door and just chop it up. Just sit there and talk, right? Curly gets into why he's locked up. And he didn't, like I said, didn't have a life sentence. But he had so much time. The judge gave him so much time. There was no chance of Curly ever stepping out of the prison. If he did, he'd have to live to be like 140. Curly tells me out where he lived at, there was a girl. And he said, man, everybody wanted this chick. He said, I was a hustler. He said, you know, I grew up right next to a basketball court. I was nice with the basketball. He was like, I would sit out there and sell drugs. And if you wanted to run a game, throw some money on it. He's like, now I grew up on the basketball court. Like, what many dudes out there beat me on no basketball game, right? Not on the one-on-one. He said, but we would always shoot ball out there, sell drugs, hang out. It's just, you know, the hangout spot. Everybody went to the park where the basketball courts were. He said, but there's this one girl, this new girl that shows up, and all the dudes are trying to get at her. He's like, Jay, she was bad, man. He's like, she was super bad. He's like, I tried and tried and tried to get at her. He's like, I had taken her to dinner, and then I get a hotel room afterwards, and we put up at the hotel, and she'd be like, oh, nah, you think I'm one of those? Take me back to the house. He's like, she was a good girl. He's like, so eventually, I get with her. I get what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? He's like, but by now, I done invested so much time and money and, you know, weeks and weeks and weeks of trying to get at her that I done caught some feelings for her. He's like, I'm not just trying to smash no more. I actually like the girl. You know what I mean? I want to be with the girl. Like, this is what it is. He's like, so we have a thing. He's like, to me, we were together because I wasn't messing with nobody else. And as far as I knew, she wasn't messing with nobody else. So I thought we was a couple. We didn't never say it. I didn't ever ask her to be my girl, but some things go without being said. You know what I mean? Everywhere I go, she's with me. Everywhere she goes, I'm with her. He's like, so it's a dude out there that I knew from around the way. He's like, I wouldn't say he was my homeboy, but he was somebody I'd kick it with, I'd play ball with, I'd talk to. He's like, but you wouldn't see us riding around together. We would just mutually see each other in the neighborhood and at the park, right? He said, so one night in particular, man, he said, this is before, you know, the house phones and all, the cell phones and all that. He said, one night in particular, I'm calling her house phone, and she's not answering. Not answering. He's like, and that's not like her. She would usually pick up on like second or third ring. He said, I get up with her the next day. What's up with you? Why you ain't answer the phone last night? She's, oh, I fell asleep, blah, blah, blah. Said, I went by your crib and stuff. Ain't nobody answered the door. She's like, yeah, I told you I was asleep. Another one of his homeboys comes to him and tells him, this is somebody he actually messes with. She wasn't asleep, bro. He's like, nah. I seen her and old boy coming out of a hotel room last night, probably 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. This is when I tell you that pride can be your biggest downfall. I'm not so sure if we would chalk Curly's situation up to pride, emotions, or what you want to call it, but pride and emotions run neck and neck. So he's like, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. So Curly confronts the girl about it, and the girl tells him, I don't belong to you. Like, I can sleep who I want to, you know, do what I want to. I'm not yours. Curly's like, oh, so you sleeping with the dude? You sleeping with the dude? This is everything Curly told me through the door, right? You sleeping with the dude? And she's like, I sleep with a couple different dudes. Like, you're nobody special, you know what I mean? You thought that we was just going to sleep together because you spent $60 at this restaurant and got a room? Nah. She's like, this is what I do, you know what I mean? Our girls got to eat. Curly said, okay. He told me, he said, Jay, I'm not going to lie, man. He said, I was so angry, I was plotting on killing her. He was like, I was really debating killing this chick, man. She had hurt my feelings, like felt like she hurt my heart. Everybody's looking at me like I'm a clown because I'm messing with this girl that's messing with everybody else. And I'm all in my feelings thinking she's my girl when she's, whoever's got the most money at the time's girl, right? He said, so I continue to see this dude over the following week. And we're at the basketball court. He's like, and I'm mad at him. He's like, I know now I shouldn't have been mad at him. He was doing the same thing I was doing. He's like, but I know the dude seen me with her. They heard me talk about it. They know how I felt about the girl, right? He's like, so dude more or less just played me. Like, to hell with Curly. He said the dude drove a very distinct car. He said you couldn't miss his car. You couldn't miss his rims. You couldn't miss his paint job, the tint. You knew his car when it drove by. Kind of like me and my Hummer. If I drive by you, I had a guy this morning be like, hey, Jay, you Jay, right? Like, you're easy to spot. He said, so he sees, one night, it's probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock. There's a whole bunch of people at the park. He said he's sitting out back on his stoop, where he lives at in his apartment. And he's out there smoking, getting ready to head over the park. And he sees the dude's car go down the street. He said, I plotted on it. I thought about it and what I was going to do, but I hadn't really come up with the solution to the problem. He said, by now, I feel like I've been played and I'm angry and I want blood. He said he took a shirt out of his closet, tied it around his face, changed out his clothes, put on some darker clothes, stuff people weren't used to seeing him in, and went over to the park. He said dude was sitting there parked, doing something in his car. I can't remember if he said he was rolling the blunt or what he was doing, but he said the dude was doing something in his car, and before he got to the car, he said he pulled the gun out and fired at it. He said, I more or less wanted to scare the dude, make him shit on himself, shoot some of the windows out, him drive off, and he never come around again, and I never have to see him. He said, but I'm shooting at the car, and as the dude's driving off, all of a sudden the car swerves right. Boom, it hits another car. Bullet run right to the side of the boy's face. He said, I don't understand if it ricocheted. I don't know, because I wasn't aiming at him. I was just aiming at, like, the back windows. But a bullet struck the boy in the face. Police come, homicide detectives come, everybody comes. Curly's done went home, changed, washed up, came back to the park, posted up with everybody out there. They're all watching all this unfold. The crime scene tape be put up. Cops picking up shell casings, putting down the little yellow markers where all the shells are, trying to figure out who could have done this. And Curly said he's just standing there with everybody else, knowing he just smoked this dude's boots. Like, damn, that's crazy. Somebody killed dude. He said detectives questioned all them, and Curly's like, no, I just got here. I was way down the block walking. Heard some shots and shit, and stopped by the house, got a sandwich, came out here, and all y'all was here. Police don't know who did it. Curly gets to arguing with this girl one night, and he told me, and that's why I tell y'all, be careful with the alcohol. He says he's kind of messed up from drinking, and he tells her, I don't care what you do, you know what I mean? Like, you hurt me, blah, 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 but I can promise you this. I catch you messing with somebody else, I'm going to do him just like I did the last dude I caught you with. You already know what she did. She went straight, called the detectives, called the police, told them that night while, her and Curly was arguing and Curly was all messed up drunk, that he admitted to her that he had killed this dude in the car. That's probable cause. That's enough for them to get a search warrant. They search Curly's house. They find the gun that he used. They find the clothes he was wearing. Clothes were in the bottom of a dirty clothes hamper. He said this has been like over a week, 2 weeks now. I said, why didn't you wash the clothes? I got rid of them. He's like, man, I wasn't really focused on that. I was more focused on what I was hearing in the streets than doing laundry. He's like, ain't like I had no blood on me, so I didn't think I had anything to worry about. They test the clothes come back with gunpowder residue on them. The shell casing from the gun he's got in his possession matches the shell casings at the scene of the crime. The bullet they recovered from the boy's head and from the interior of the car and other places where they hit matched the gun. Curly said he had done a little bid prior to this, like 3-4 year bid for selling drugs and stuff. Didn't think it would be a big deal. Well, then it came into first degree premeditated murder because Curly took the time to cover his face, change his clothes, walk up on dude that's premeditated. You planned, you plotted. Curly said they would arrest him. Never heard about the girl again. She testified against him at trial on what he said. He said, but I've never spoken to her again since then. Don't know if she's even, where she's at, who she's with, what she's doing. But just like that, he allowed his pride to take away not only this other guy's life, but the rest of his life. Think before you act, people. So many, many years ago, staying out Philly. My brother at the time is hollering at this girl that lives not far from where we live at in Philly. Cute chick, you know what I mean? But my brother, he more or less, he didn't really take the girl serious. I mean, she was something to do when there was nothing to do. When there was nobody else for him to smash or, he was just bored. She would swing through and he would knock her off and she would leave. This girl had kids. This girl had a man. My brother knew about this, but she always talked really bad about the dude. Said she was only with the dude because of the kids and he wasn't a good provider. He worked a job, didn't make a lot of money. He could barely keep the bills on. The bills paid, the lights on. He could barely keep food in the house. My brother was known for getting money, My brother knocked her off and, I wouldn't say he was tricking with her, but he always made sure she had money in her pockets. This would go on for a while. My brother and this girl messing around, man. She would wait till her man wasn't around, have one of her homegirls in the neighborhood watch the kids, and she would swing through them, and her and my brother would link up, right? So she continues to tell my brother about this dude, man. This dude, he's worthless. His job is worthless. Like, he's a shitty provider. Now, she wouldn't just tell my brother this. She was also telling this dude this. You're a piece of shit. We're struggling because of you. When in reality, she should have got out and got a job. And it would have helped, lessen his load and not put as much on his plate. But this dude would get up every single day, put on these dirty work boots, put on these dirty work clothes, and head back out that door to that job to make that money to try to take care of this girl, take care of these kids, and keep these lights on in this house, right? She would come through every now and then, and I'd see her, I'd say, yo, what up? Just briefly say what's up to her. I didn't mess with her like that, but I knew her, but I'd just say what's up to her. Me and my brother were walking one night, and at this time we had the chirp phones. Remember the Nextel chirps? So he's chirping back and forth with her, just talking, and we're headed up the street, like a good bunch of blocks away from our spot where we live at, to get cigarettes, because at the time, cigarettes in Philly were outrageous, but they had this little CVS up the street. It was like $1 something cheaper than everywhere else. So we would walk up to the CVS. I'd actually walked to the same CVS with the female that he was messing with on several different occasions. I never really spoke to her a whole lot because that was my brother's thing, Kind of just, listen to her talk as we walk. But this particular day, me and my brother are walking to the store, right? And I don't know if you remember, but the chirps had the button on the side that you could push the button and you could lock it. So instead of having to hold the little chirp thing down the whole time, you could double click it and it would stay where you could just keep talking. And then when they chirped back in, it would, cut your chirp out and they would come in. This is like a phone, but like a walkie-talkie that you could use from here all the way to Cali. It would go cross country. The feds ended up getting a hold of them, and you seen dudes smashing the chirps in the streets, right? So we're walking, and him and her chirping back and forth. She's complaining about dude. Dude was supposed to go out that night and do something with some money he had. We were supposed to flip the money, and this money was going to pay off these bills they had that had them in debt. That he needed this money, man. So as my brother's talking to her, she's got the phone locked, and She's talking, and I guess dude walks in, and she sets the phone down, and we can hear everything that they're saying. Him and her get to arguing. He got robbed. Whatever he went to go do, I don't know if he was going to hit a lick, he was going to buy some drugs to sell. I don't know what he was doing. But I know that whatever happened, wherever he went, he ended up getting robbed. He'd come back to the house and was telling her he needed to go upstairs and get his gun. We're listening. They are arguing, screaming, and we're steadily walking to the CVS. My brother's got the phone up. We're just listening to everything taking place, right? The guy, I guess, goes in the back bedroom, gets his gun, comes out, and the girl is on his ass. She's telling him, you're worthless. I'm going to leave you. How you going to let our lights and stuff get ready to get cut off? We ain't got no food in the house. You're a poor excuse for a man. She hurt his pride. She hurt his pride bad. Now, you probably think you know what I'm about to say, but you don't. She's in the middle of screaming at this dude and telling him how he's a piece of shit and he's just a poor excuse for a father and a provider. And we hear a gunshot. Boom! We both kind of stop walking, thinking, oh shit, he just shot her. He shot himself. The girl starts screaming hysterical. The kids are there at the house. In the midst of this girl bashing this man, the guy took the gun and shot himself. Blew his brains all over the side of the wall and on the ceiling. As she was in the middle of bashing him and attacking his pride. He had let his pride get to him to the point, and the stress of life and the money and feeling like a failure get to him to the point that he just snapped in that instant, took the gun and shot himself. For the next few minutes, all we heard was her screaming, baby, baby, get up, baby, telling the kids, move back, move back. Then we heard the screen door shut, and you could hear her in the distance, yelling for people to come help, come help. And our chirps back then, some of them you could call phone numbers, but a lot of them were only for you to use as like a walkie-talkie. You couldn't actually dial numbers with some of these chirps. We just had chirp service. We didn't have phone service. So she couldn't, do the 911 thing. They call the police show up, come find out he had been drinking, he had pills in the system, pills in the car, and that played a major part, I'm assuming, in why he took his own life. I hadn't thought about that story in a very long time until today when I was, thinking on today's video. My brother never messed with the girl again. We seen her a couple times after the services, after, her kid's father was put in the ground and buried. And she wasn't the same. She wasn't looking to be with nobody. She wasn't looking to sleep with nobody. She had no more interest in my brother. She ended up losing the apartment, moving in with her mother. Her and the kids did. But it just goes to show you, just like that, the dude's pride got hurt so bad that in most situations, your pride will cause you to hurt somebody else. But the stress and the attack of character and pride mixed together led this man to shoot himself. It's a crazy story, man. It's happened out southwest. For all my Philly cats listening, if y'all remember this, if y'all remember the girl's name, I remember her name, but I'm not going to put it out there, because it's kind of messed up on the fact that she did play a major part in him killing himself. Her attack on his character and his pride took him up out of here. Crazy, crazy, crazy world, man. But like I've told y'all before, these institutions, jails, detention centers, these facilities, they're all just crazier worlds inside of this already crazy world we live in. And y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. To all my real ones and the awesome real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Y'all know how we do, man. Salute. Swallow your pride.